It's 20 degrees with a foot of snow outside. And you think, what could be in this building? And you walk in. It's like walking into Las Vegas. 2 months, they built a temporary structure with all the lights and glamour and the excitement that you'd find in Las Vegas. And it's a little bit of that contrast that makes it wonderful. How'd they get that in here in the middle of winter?
Rod Alberts arrived in Detroit in 1991 to help the renamed North American International Auto Show achieve the founder's global ambitions.
Times they'll run together. It's like anything else we do in life, Forget, what year was that? How many years ago?
He's now the executive director of NAIAS and the Detroit Auto Dealers Association, and remembers the growing pains, drama, and ups and downs of the industry that have defined the show for more than 2 decades.
Remember the concept Beetle that came out, and we didn't even know if it was going to be at our show? It came in late. And somebody built a big display, a big wall. And I remember going back looking at that wall and looking at the Beetle and the smoke coming out. And I remember seeing that going, oh my gosh, this has the potential to be even bigger and better.
The Detroit show is known for its theatrical, over-the-top unveilings.
The one that really primed it, got it going back in 1990, 91, was when Bob Lutz and Coleman Young climbed in a Jeep and they put candy glass up in Cobo Hall and they went flying through the candy glass with media around. Chrysler came back with one with David Spade. They did a blizzard deal with some minivan or something, and they had small pieces of paper and they had these huge fans, and it blew literally paper all over the building, which didn't play so well with the other manufacturers getting ready to do a press conference. But my gosh, it made a great story. There's really no end to it all. So I'm a believer in the dramatic and the theatrics, and you find that in Detroit more than you find it elsewhere, but that's just part of the game, and we love that.
Cars aren't the only spectacle of the auto show. Celebrities, politicians, and other notable figures are spotted as well. But there's one famous figure that stands out in Albert's memory.
You never know if a president's coming in until the last 2 or 3 days.
Documented, Detroit is still leading the way.
So 3 days before the show, we get a call from the White House, and they tell us that the President of the United States is going to be in 2 days. It was late one night. I'm on the phone with my committee, and Debbie Dingell, the White House, the advance team, the Secret Service. They tell us they're coming in. They're not going to allow parking in the building. They're going to shut down part of the freeways. And we said, well, we're in Detroit, and nobody comes to Detroit. It was like John Belushi moment. And I had one of my guys say, nobody comes in this town and pushes us around. Well, you can imagine how that went over on a White House phone call. It was probably the most challenging situation I've ever had, because when they come to town, that's the show.
Albert says the Detroit show is a microcosm of the industry at large during both the boom of the Clinton years and the collapse 5 years ago.
One day in 2008, I get a phone call around Thanksgiving, and I have an OEM, a manufacturer, pulling out of our show. Middle of move-in. I mean, that's an open spot. The next day, I start getting calls from other ones because they heard about that. And it was like the stock market. It was just a collapse. And I remember sitting in my office taking phone call after phone call going, should we stay in or not? What we did is we reinvested during that time. And we started putting money into it, which you should in a down market. We were losing a lot of the high luxury cars, like Lamborghini, Ferrari. So we ended up putting together a separate show at the MGM with 25 ultra-luxury cars over $250,000. We flew Black Card Centurion card members from American Express, and you can get 300 people, but if they're buyers, you get yourself a gig. So we actually created a whole new event that never would have occurred without it. We created a ride and drive because we had a couple OEMs pull out back in the day. We built an entire forest, and we actually tricked flowers and trees into blooming. If it happens again, once you're through it once, I don't think it's bad the second time. You're fighting through the storm.
Going international proved to be the saving grace of the Detroit Auto Show, and Albert says the ripples that came off the decision show in unexpected places.
There was a time in the late 90s when we had our first sellout of the charity preview, and we had a wait list. My gosh, the charities were we're raising $7 million and we had a wait list. It was like the Redskin tickets or something. The charity preview is actually, what you have to look at that is it's a byproduct in its success from the international success of the show. Think about this, from 1968 to 1988, charity preview had 3 or 4 charities involved, and it raised maybe a total of $1 million. I actually had charities turn me down to be a part of charity preview. And from '89, we went from people maybe at $50 a ticket and say 1,000 people to, in 5 years, 15,000 people paying $300 and $400 per ticket. And for 11 years, it sold out completely, only because 4 dealers, along with Keith Crane, decided to change the name to North American International Auto Show and invite a couple of new brands to come in. And you think after 80 years of being just a regional show that you can't change? You got to believe and take action, and look what happened. In the end, it raised $91 million for kids. That's the difference.